Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. If you use this HEROES promo code for a discount between October 28th, 2022 through November 18th, 2022, you will automatically be entered into a sweepstakes where you could win a Brothers War set booster box. There is also another way to enter where no purchase is necessary. See the link in the description below for full details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. The Brothers War preview season is kicking off. We saw a lot of previews so far for Magic 30. There's going to be more this weekend, and of course next week we'll have previews coming out pretty consistently. Right now, though, the market is a little bit slower as players are waiting to see these preview cards to decide what they want to pick up in the coming weeks. When it comes to the cards that are moving this week, the Market Watch continues to be a salute to all formats, but mostly Commander. However, there are some cards from other formats aside from Commander moving different prices this week. The threshold for today's video again is $2. We're not going to talk about a card unless it's moving at least $2 up or down. Quickly, before we get into all the details though, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order the Brothers War products there. They have everything you see on the screen. They even have cases if you're looking for cases of the booster boxes. Plus, they have a whole lot of other things on their website, and you might have noticed during the opening that we are doing another sweepstakes with them. All the information is in the link in the description down below, and you have a chance this time to win a Brothers War set booster box. Remember, as always, if your orders are over $100 or consist only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use the Heroes promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated, so thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's begin with the Standard Legal Spotlight. This is where we talk about the Standard Legal cards moving the most this week. Only a couple cards to discuss. One's going down in price, one's moving up. Liliana of the Veil, the Dominaria United copy, is down $209 this week to $31.55. The Ultimate Masters copy is down $319 to $56. So, of course, being reprinted in Dominaria United meant that this is now Standard and Pioneer legal, but it also added a whole bunch of new copies to the marketplace, which means in general, these cards have been soft. Also, too, the recent banning of the Meat Hook Massacre in Standard has opened the format up to different decks that are not primarily in black. Plus, everything's about to change anyway with the Brothers War coming. Right now, though, in Standard, this is in Rakdos Midrange, Jund, Wind, Grace, and more. Pioneer, it's found in Rakdos Midrange, Mono Black Midrange, sometimes Abzan Greasefang, and more there. As you know, it's been a solid Modern card for a long time, too. It's in Jund builds, 8 racks, sometimes Rakdos Midrange Scam. And it's also getting additional Commander play now in 2 new builds around cards from Dominaria United, Shieldred the Apocalypse, and Braid's Arisen Nightmare. And the last card in this section is Sorin the Mirthless. This goes up $6.18 this week to $17.70, but it is the copy from an Innistrad double feature. It has been getting some standard play. It's in Jund midrange, Mono Black midrange. Again, things are going to change there, though. In Pioneer, you see this in Mono Black midrange. It's also getting additional Commander play now and builds around Shieldred the Apocalypse. And that quickly takes us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. We have some cards going down in value, then some moving up. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. This is the copy from the list. It goes down $265 this week to $35.95. It was part of the list for Zendikar Rising at Kel time. It is retracting after some recent increases. The card got really hot because of its role in a popular Pioneer deck, Nykthos Ramp. But it's also in Golgari Elves, Mono White midrange there too. In Modern, it's in Abzan Elves, and it's also getting additional Commander playing now too in those builds we mentioned a moment ago, Shieldred the Apocalypse and Braid's Arisen Nightmare. Indomitable Creativity is down $269 this week to $26.60. This continues to retract a little bit after some pretty aggressive recent spikes. In Pioneer, this is in Temur and Izzet Indomitable Creativity builds. Modern, though, is why this card has been hot recently. A couple weeks ago, Yorion Sky Nomad was banned in the format, and the already popular Indomitable Creativity builds there started to take a bigger share of the meta. Additionally, this gets a little Commander play too in various builds. Emrakul, the Promised End, is down $352 this week to $66.44. This was jumping aggressively not too long ago, but now it continues to retract and find its price point based on the play it currently sees. In Modern, it's in Mono Green Tron, Eldrazi Tron, sometimes Amulet Titan, and more. In Legacy, it's in Mono Green Cloudpost. It's also getting some more Commander play now because of some new cards. It is in builds around a card from Dominaria United's Legends Legacy deck, the Peregrine Dynamo. Also in some builds around another newer card, Joecken the Unifier from the main set. Renata Called to the Hunt is down 12.26 this week to 24.84, but this is the copy from the list that you see on the screen. It was only there for Strixhaven. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite cards to talk about, and I'll tell you why. It helps me see who actually listens to my videos and who's just going through looking at the prices. But I digress. As you know, if you've been watching, this card has been extremely turbulent, just this copy of the card, because of some really high asking prices online and very few copies out there for sale. It does skew the data. This price is still inflated, even though it came down a lot this week. Nobody's paying this for the card. You can get the original copy for just a few cents. And you might want a copy because it is getting some increased commander play and builds around a Dominaria United box topper, Jedit Ojanen Mercenary. Last card moving down in this section, the Meathook Massacre, the copy from Innistrad double feature. It is down 18.78 this week to 67.90. This was banned in Standard recently, which is why it is so cold right now. In Pioneer, though, it is in Mono Black Devotion, sometimes Recto Sacrifice. This is now seeing increased commander play and builds around some Dominaria United cards. Hellisil Corsadistic Pilgrim, Shieldred the Apocalypse, and Braid's Arisen Nightmare. Hallowed Moonlight, this is up 288 this week to 393. This has quickly become a sought-after modern sideboard card for many builds since the last meta shift that began with the banning of Yorion. Like I said earlier, the Indomitable Creativity decks were popular, but now they're seeing even more play. This is an answer to those decks bringing in Archon of Cruelty from Exile. This also gets a tad bit of commander play. And the last card in this section is Rakdos, Lord of Riots. This is the Ravnica Allegiance Rakdos Guild Kit copy. That one only comes in foil. It goes up 5.52 this week to 18.48. Demons are so hot right now, thanks to the Warhammer 40k commander deck that has a demon sub-theme, the Ruinous Powers. Many players are picking this up to upgrade that deck or add it to fresh builds around a couple cards from there. Be'lakor the Dark Master, and to a lesser degree, Abaddon the Despoiler. Additionally, this is a popular demon commander and in the 99 of other demon builds there too, which obviously are being pushed because of the new cards that came in that Warhammer deck. And here we are at the Modern Legal Spotlight. Again, some cards going down, some going up. Scalding Tarn from Zendikar down $2.75 this week to $30. This is retracting after some recent increases. It is a fetch land, so you know it gets extensive play in many decks and many formats. It's all over Modern, Legacy, Vintage, and it's in tons of commander builds, old and new. Marlin of the Mornsong. This goes down $2.77 this week to $27.82. This is retracting a little after some spikes. It is a fairly popular commander, and the build was pushed recently by some powerful newer cards in black. Ragavan Nimble Pilfer is down $2.92 this week to $74. This continues to retract after some recent increases. The reason this got hot not too long ago is because it is in the Modern Izzet and Jeskai Breach builds. Those decks were performing very well in Modern. They still are, but this is also in a couple decks that are seeing even more play right now in the new meta. Murktide Regent and Rakdos Midrange Scam. Plus, this is in many other decks there too. In Vintage, you see this in 4-color Tempo, Jeskai Control, and it's also getting increased commander play in new builds. Joecken the Unifier is one of them. It's a good upgrade to the Warhammer 40k commander deck Tyrannid Swarm, and it's in fresh builds around a card from there. Gyerson Starn Kellermorph. Blightsteel Colossus from Mirrodin Besieged is down $3 to $66.99. Now, maybe this does not see the same amount of play it used to, but it's still in a variety of different commander decks. Some are using this to upgrade another one of the Warhammer 40k commander decks, Necron Dynasties, and I've also seen this in fresh builds around a card from there, and Rakhyr the Traveler. Last card moving down today is Kozilek Butcher of Truth. This is the copy from Rise of the Eldrazi. It's down $3.17 this week to $51.22. This was in the list for Strixhaven and Modern Horizons 2, but the reprinting in Double Masters 2022 is the reason why this card has been softer recently. In Modern, this is in Mono Blue Tron, Dice Factory Tron, plus it's seeing more commander play now as well. It's in builds around the Peregrine Dynamo, and it appears in some Shieldred the Apocalypse commander decks too. Polluted Bonds is up $2.27 this week to $26.41. Do I see a Shadowmoor rare that's yet to be reprinted? I believe I do. And it's time to use my one per video. You know, during this time period of Magic, there was a recession in the game. Less packs were cracked. Because of that, some of these rares from the time that have yet to be reprinted, they can get a little spiky when people start to pay some attention to them. So why are people paying attention to this? Well, it is in various commander decks, but typically when you see it, it's in Yawgmoth Thran Physician builds. Those decks are seeing more play because of the recent influx of good cards for mono black commander decks. Prince of Thralls up 260 to 965. Here's another demon that many are getting to upgrade, the Ruinous Powers. And I am seeing this in fresh commander builds around Be'lakor the Dark Master from there as well. Last card in this section is Flooded Strand from Onslaught. It goes up 277 this week to 8875. This original fetch land is rebounding after some recent losses, and like the others, it's in a lot of different decks in Modern, Legacy, Vintage. Also appears in a lot of commander builds too, old and new. That takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that see play in Legacy, Vintage, or cards that are just popular among collectors this week. Now, prices in this section, at least for some of the cards, might be a little more reminiscent of what you might see on a price tracking website. And that's because, at least in some cases, the cards we talk about don't have a lot of sales, or at times a lot of inventory out there, so we do have to lean a little harder on asking price in those cases. Also, for some of the older, more iconic Magic cards, the price you see on the screen could fall somewhere in between the price of a high-grade raw and high-grade graded copy. However, if that price isn't at least close to the middle between those two, or if just in general the price on the screen is off compared to recent sales I'm seeing, I'll point that out. First though, we have Rashad Import. This is the original one from Mercadian Masks. It goes up $267 this week to $44. Good legacy card in Death and Taxes, lands, goblins. Also gets a little commander play in some different builds. Grim Monolith. This is up $410 this week to $279.49. This is in the Epic Gamble deck in Legacy. It's expensive, but I have seen some using this to upgrade Necron Dynasties or put in fresh builds around a card from there. Trazyn the Infinite. Oh boy, this mountain's back again. Alright, so the mountain you see on the screen is from Battle Royale. This mountain, and only this one, is going up $589 this week to $24.96, at least in theory. And we talked about this over the last couple weeks. We see this occur every once in a while. A particular basic land just gets bought out. Usually it's because somebody wants to build a deck with a bunch of copies in there, maybe a couple decks. They all disappear at the same time, leaving only the overpriced copies in the secondary market. And that causes this artificial inflation. Nobody's spending $24.96 for this mountain, but there's not many copies out there, and the asking prices for the ones that are there are pretty high. Typically, when this happens, we see more copies enter the marketplace down the road, and the price goes back down again. Also, usually when we see this happen, it is a white border basic land. Some players do prefer those, they stand out when you fetch. Ring of Maruf is up $16.64 this week to $144.99. Veteran Bodyguard from Unlimited. In fact, all the rest of the white border cards in this section are from Unlimited, so I won't keep saying that. This one is up $21.16 to $52.16. Armageddon up $31.77 to $161.89. Nightmare up $34.67 to $84.99. Mirror Universe up $45.92 to $470. And the last card in the section is Underground Sea. It goes up $180.46 to $1,839.95. Is that price for real, though? Yeah, it's pretty close. High-grade raw copies can break about $1,200 now. I did see a graded 9.5 sell for over $3,700 not too long ago. And that brings us to the Commander Spotlight. Now, all the cards in this section are moving, at least in part because of Commander. But there could be other reasons the cards are moving as well, and in some cases, Commander might not even be the key driver. But as we go through, I'll let you know. Maelstrom Wanderer. This is the one from Plane Chase 2012. It goes up $2.01 to $14.52. This is a fairly popular commander, and it is seeing more play now in the 99 of some new builds there. It's in Joda the Unifier. It's also a good upgrade to Dominaria United's Painbow commander deck, and used in new builds around a card from there, Jared Carthalion. Replenish is up $2.14 to $100. This is found in many enchantment-heavy commander builds, and it is seeing more play now and builds around a new card from Dominaria United, Zur Eternal Schemer. This also gets a fair amount of play in the pre-modern format. Exalted Angel from Onslaught is up $2.16 this week to $9.59. This is going to be one of the Magic 30 promo cards, so keep that in mind. This sees a lot of play in the pre-modern format, and it does get a little commander play, usually in Angel builds. Biophagus. This is up $2.24 this week to $6.99. This is from the Tyranid Swarm Warhammer 40k commander deck. It is in fresh builds around a couple cards from there, the Swarmlord and Magus Lucia Kane. But this is just in general a solid commander card, making its way into a variety of other decks too. Charisma of $3.45 to $13.74. This is an older card that is yet to be reprinted, and it is getting some more commander play now. It is a good upgrade to Tyranid Swarm, and it's in fresh builds around Geyer, Sinstar, and Kellermorph from there. Shadow in the Warp is up 363 this week to 2536, another Warhammer 40k card that is already seeing play in a number of different commander builds. You'll find this one in Tyranid Swarm, and sure, it is seeing play in new builds around a couple of cards from there that we mentioned earlier, the Swarmlord and Magus Lucia Kane, but it's also showing up in a lot of other builds. It was featured in a Command Zone podcast episode last week about the best cards from Warhammer 40k that could have brought some more attention to it. Academy Rector up 370 this week to 9161. This is another card seen in many enchantment-heavy commander builds, and another card that gets a fair amount of play in the pre-modern format. It is rebounding after some recent losses. Bone Harvest, the copy from Beatdown, remains dry online this week, going up in theory 452 to 932. But again, here's a card that is priced at a point that nobody is paying. You can get the original copy for just a few cents. It is found in a few commander builds, including Grist the Hunger Tide. Exalted Flamer of Zinch is next up 497 this week to 1421. The Ruinous Powers Warhammer 40k commander deck is where you'll find this one. It's in fresh builds around a number of cards from there. Abaddon the Despoiler, Be'lakor the Dark Master, Magnus the Red. But I've also seen some using this as an upgrade to Tyranid Swarm, and adding it to new builds around Gyrson Starn Kellermorph. Additionally, this is in commander builds around an Eternal Legal card from Infinity, Myra the Magnificent. But again, just in general, this is shaping up to be a solid commander card already appearing in a lot of builds, old and new. Ebon Dragon from Portal up 617 this week to 1278. This copy of the card is pretty dry online this week. Again, nobody's really paying this price, but it does get a tad bit of commander play. Metal Workers up 661 this week to 139.99. So this is seeing more commander play now as an upgrade to Necron Dynasties. It's in fresh builds around a few cards from there too, Trazen the Infinite, Anarachire the Traveler, and Zimotech the Stormlord. But remember, the Brothers' War is an Artifact Matter set, and that could be leading some to speculate on this reserve list card. To let you know what we're talking about here, I'm going to show you some of the preview cards that they've already put out that are either artifacts or directly interact with artifacts. First, we have these 10 cards here from the main set. Now, I won't read through all these or anything like that. I want to keep everything moving. But if you are interested in looking closer at these cards, feel free to pause the video. Then in the main set, we have 2 cards that meld to form Mishra Lord to Phyrexia, and 2 meld cards that give us Urza Planeswalker, plus the 2 front-facing commanders for both of the Brothers' War commander decks interact with artifacts, Mishra Eminent One from Mishra's Burnished Banner, and Urza Chief Artificer from Urza's Iron Alliance. If you're wondering why these cards are in Classic Frame, that's because all the cards in both these decks are going to come in Classic Frames. Sliver Queen is next up 743 this week to 295. Many times you see this as a commander for a Sliver build, or in the 99 of a Sliver deck there. It got hot not too long ago when we saw many of the surprise cards that came with the previous round of Secret Layers were reprints of Slivers. Then it cooled off. However, a new round of Secret Layers has been shipped, and guess what? Again, we're seeing reprints of Slivers showing up as the surprise cards, and people are interested in this reserve list legendary Sliver yet again. From a very old card to one that's not very old at all, Delayed Blast Fireball. This is up 864 this week to 1420. It is from the Exit from Exile Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate commander deck, and it has been a solid commander card in a lot of different builds ever since it came out. It is, however, getting even more commander play as an upgrade to the Ruinous Powers deck. It's also in new builds around Abaddon the Despoiler. You see this in a couple other decks around some newer commanders too. Torwoki the Younger, which is a Dominaria United box topper, and Murray, a Scholar of Antiquity, which is from the main set. Also, last week, Jumbo Commander put out a YouTube short featuring this card. Might have brought some attention to it. Reign of Daggers, up 866 this week to 64.98, at least in theory. This is an older card yet to be reprinted. But again, it looks like this price jump is due to scarcity online and some high asking prices. I don't think people are paying this for the card right now. It really doesn't see a whole lot of play. And the last card in this section is Wheel of Fortune from Revised. It goes up 10.10 this week to $332. Now, that is a small percentage increase for this card, but still, we haven't talked about it for a while. It is interesting that it is creeping up again. This is found in a variety of different commander decks. It is an expensive but good upgrade to Tyranid Swarm, and I've seen it in fresh builds around Gyrson Starn Kellermorph. And that takes us to the Premium Spotlight. So yes, I do have a Premium Spotlight card this week. I just selected one. And as you know, there's always premium cards that are spiking and crashing, all sorts of turbulence in that part of the secondary market. But I like to talk about the cards that feel like they're moving relatively naturally, that maybe the increase is stable enough to stick, as opposed to a card that's bought out, or maybe is just dry for the week and going to move back down the following week. So what did I choose this time? It's Metalworker, the Urza's Destiny foil, going up $126.81 to $1,037.49. Is that for real though? Well, high-grade raw copies are hitting about $12.50 right now. I have not seen a high-grade graded copy sell for a while, but when one does, it's going to go for much more than this. So if anything, it looks like this price is actually low. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Before I go, I just wanted to remind you again about the sweepstakes with Flipside Gaming. In the description below, there's a link to all the information. And also, I just added the thank you option to my videos. So if you see the video and you enjoy it, and you decide at some point you want to contribute to the channel, there's an easy way for you now to do that. It's never expected, but always appreciated. It does help the channel keep going, help me be able to make these videos and put the time into them that I like to put into them. But again, just watching the videos, liking, leaving a comment, that's huge too. Until next time, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.